In a second, I'm going to show you some words, and I want you to do one simple thing out loud, as fast as you can. Not read the word, say the color of the ink it's printed in. Just the color. Ready? Here's the first one. The word red, but it's printed in blue ink. Say the ink color. Fast. Now the word green, printed in orange. Say the color, not the word. Now yellow, printed in red. Purple, printed in green. Come on, out loud, quick. Did you feel that? That little snag? That half second where your mouth started to say the wrong thing and you had to yank it back. Your tongue tripped. You slowed down. Maybe you laughed, because it felt almost impossible to do something as stupidly simple as name a color. That stumble you just felt is not you being slow. It's one of the most reliable little failures in the entire human mind. And it has a name, and once you see what's actually happening in there, you're going to feel a little differently about the thing you're proudest of. What you just felt is called the Stroop effect. And it is old, and it is stubborn, and it is one of the most replicated findings in the whole of psychology. Back in 1935, a researcher named John Ridley Stroop published a paper with a wonderfully dull title, Studies of Interference in Serial Verbal Reactions. And in it, he did almost exactly what I just did to you. He printed color words in the wrong colored ink, and he timed how long people took to name the ink, and they were slow, painfully, measurably slow, compared to naming a plain patch of color with no word on it at all. The word fought them, every single time. Nearly 100 years later, that same little test is still being run in labs, in clinics, in doctors' offices, because it works on almost everyone, almost every time. You can know exactly how it works. You can be warned. You can brace for it, and it still gets you, which is the strangest part. So let me show you why you can't beat it. Here's the one idea that explains all of it. Inside your head, when you look at one of those words, two different jobs start at the exact same moment, and they race. The first job is reading, and reading for you is automatic. You have read so many words, so many times, for so many years, that it stopped being a thing you do and became a thing that simply happens to you. You cannot look at a word in a language you know and not read it. Try it right now. Look at any word near you and try to see just the shapes, just the lines, without the meaning rushing in. You can't. The meaning arrives whether you invited it or not. Reading has become a reflex, like flinching. The second job is naming the color of the ink. And that one is not a reflex. Nobody drilled you for 20 years on naming ink colors. It's a slower, deliberate, effortful little task your brain has to actually look, decide, and choose the word. So now, picture the race. The word red printed in blue. The instant it hits your eyes, the automatic reader has already blurted red. It's fast. It's a reflex. It's off the line before the gun. Meanwhile, the slow, careful color namer is still lacing up its shoes, trying to say blue. And the two answers collide. For a fraction of a second, your brain is holding two different words that both want to come out of your mouth, and it has to notice the conflict, shove down the automatic one, and let the correct slow one through. That shove, that tiny act of catching yourself, is the snag you felt. Brain scientists can actually watch this happen. A region buried in the middle of your brain called the anterior cingulate cortex acts like a conflict alarm. It lights up the moment two answers disagree. And then the front of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, has to step in like a referee and force the reflex to stand down so the right answer can win. All of that in the time it takes to say one word. And here's a detail that proves the whole thing, a detail that's easy to miss. It only really works in one direction. If I flip it around, if I show you those same messy words and ask you to just read the word and ignore the ink color, you barely slow down at all. The color of the ink almost can't distract you from reading, but the word can absolutely wreck your attempt to name the color. That lopsidedness is the tell. It's not that words and colors are equally confusing. It's that reading is so much more automatic than naming a color that it steamrolls it. The stronger reflex always wins the race, and it barely notices the weaker one is even running. What you're looking at, through this tiny keyhole, is automaticity itself the moment a learned skill stops being something you do and becomes something you can't not do. And this is the part I actually want you to sit with, because it's a little unsettling. Think about what reading is. It's arguably the proudest thing your brain ever learned. It took years of a small child sounding out letters, one agonizing syllable at a time. Ku, ka, cat. It was hard. It was the opposite of automatic. And you practiced it so relentlessly for so long that you sanded away every trace of the effort until it vanished completely. But look at the price of that. You didn't just get good at reading. You lost the ability to stop. The skill got so deep, so overlearned, that it slipped out of your control entirely and became a reflex you cannot switch off, even when switching it off is the only thing standing between you and a stupidly simple task. Your greatest competence quietly turned into a compulsion. And once you feel that, you start to wonder how much else in your day is running the same way. How much of who you are is just deeply grooved reflex habits, phrases, judgments, the route you drive without deciding to, the opinion that arrives before you've thought skills you practice so well, they now run without you, and would keep running even if you begged them to stop. The Stroop effect is just the one you can feel. Most of them you never catch at all. You spent your whole life learning to do things without thinking. And the quiet cost is that a lot of your life now happens without you. So that little trip of the tongue at the start wasn't a glitch. It was your own mastery, caught in the act proof that the things you've gotten best at are exactly the things you can no longer fully control. Now I want to hear from you, not about colors. Think of a skill you got so good at that it now happens without you typing, without looking, driving a familiar road, an instrument, a language, some little reflex of your job, and ask yourself honestly, could you still switch it off if you tried? Tell me down in the comments what yours is, and whether you think you could stop it. I read these. And if you like the feeling of catching your own mind in the act, these small, strange, testable things it does behind your back, subscribe and stick around. There's a whole pile of them, and every single one of them is really about you.